Okay, let's try and unpack this. I mean, if you've been trying to keep up with mixed martial arts lately, you know it's been just, well, a whirlwind, right?
Absolutely.
We've had these unexpected cancellations, some really dominant performances, strategic shifts, even event locations changing almost overnight. Just felt like news overload this week.
It really has.
Yeah.
Yeah, from the big fight cards to, major announcements, the sheer volume of information was, wow, immense. It can definitely feel like drinking from a fire hose if you're trying to stay on top of it all.
And that right there is exactly why we're doing this deep dive. For you, really. We've gone through, that whole stack of sources you sent over.
All the articles, the results.
Exactly, the reports covering everything that's just happened and what's coming up next.
And the mission is pretty straightforward, isn't it? We just want to cut through all that noise,
Mm-hmm.
pull out the most important stuff, the really fascinating details, and basically get you up to speed quickly and, properly informed, give you those key takeaways, maybe some aha moments without you feeling totally overwhelmed.
Yeah, exactly. So we're looking at results, reactions from the recent fights, big news impacting future events, and even some interesting strategy talk for upcoming bouts.
Yeah.
Let's get into it.
Okay, let's start where things got, well, pretty wild.
Yeah.
UFC Vegas 107. That main event, Aaron Blanchfield versus Macy Barber.
Didn't happen.
Nope. Scratched literally minutes before they were supposed to walk.
Minutes. I mean, after all the hype, the weigh-ins, just gone. The official line was a last-minute medical issue for Macy Barber.
Yeah, and looking through the sources, what's really notable is, well, this isn't exactly the first time for Barber, is it?
Right.
One report specifically mentioned her history with medical setbacks. Remember, she dropped out of the Rose Namajunas fight last year.
Mm-hmm.
Illness. Later said it was Epstein-Barr.
Hmm.
So while we don't know the specifics this time, it does kind of echo those past issues.
And that wasn't even the only problem leading up to this fight. Barber actually missed weight.
Oh yeah, half a pound over the flyweight limit.
Blanchfield made weight. She agreed to the catch weight, even got a piece of Barber's purse. So, things were already a bit rocky before the whole thing just fell apart on fight night.
It really does throw a spotlight on, fighter readiness, the risks in matchmaking, especially when it's a main event.
For sure.
And it was interesting. One source, they didn't really pull any punches. They listed the UFC and the matchmakers as losers for the event.
Wow.
Yeah, basically say they booked a fighter who reportedly has had these recurring medical things for over a year.
You can absolutely see why Erin Blanchfield would be frustrated. I mean, she looked visibly stunned, annoyed, talking to the media after, called it pretty crazy, pretty unprofessional.
Yeah, her frustration was really clear when she said she wouldn't want that Barber fight again after this.
Oh, and she went further, didn't she? Sounded like it was fueled by maybe past stuff plus this whole cancellation drama.
Oh yeah, she used some really strong language, said Barber needs to fix her life, called her a complete mess in every aspect of her entire life. I mean, whoa.
That's intense. You don't hear that every day, especially post-fight, or rather post-non-fight.
Right, and think about the context too.
Yep.
Valentina Shevchenko, the champ, was cage side.
Exactly. Potentially scouting her next challenger. This was supposed to be Blanchfield's huge moment, a big contender fight to make a statement.
And instead, she said she's left in a weird place. Now she's got to look at other options, maybe someone like Natalia Silva, who's looked really impressive lately.
So yeah, a chaotic end or non-end to the main event. But the rest of the UFC Vegas 107 card did still happen, and there were some important performances.
Definitely. Even without the headliner, we still got some action, some significant results. The co-main event, Mateusz Gamrot against Ludovic Klein. That was a strong return for Gamrot.
Yeah, he hadn't fought since last August, right? But he looked sharp.
He really did.
Yeah.
Showcased that, elite wrestling. Klein supposedly had this amazing 91% takedown defense coming in.
Supposedly.
Right. Well, Gamrot landed 6 takedowns out of 11 tries. Controlled him on the mat for almost 9 minutes total.
Wow.
Yeah, aside from getting clipped by a jab early on, Gamrot pretty much dominated. Unanimous decision win. Snapped Klein's 4-fight streak.
And Gamrot's number 7 lightweight? That performance definitely backs up his ranking against a tough guy like Klein. One analysis we saw said he's earned another ranked opponent next. Seems fair.
Absolutely. Another big moment was Ramiz Brahimaj getting that submission win over Billy Ray Goff.
Oh, yeah. Brahimaj was actually the biggest underdog on the main card.
He was. And pulls off this spectacular finish in the first round, locked in what one source called a brilliant ninja choke.
A ninja choke, okay.
Yeah, transitioned it to a high elbow guillotine, squeezed so tight he apparently lifted Goff right off the canvas until he passed out.
Jeez. That's his second straight first-round stoppage, too. Broke that win-loss pattern he was on. Huge for him.
Definitely building momentum. And we saw a quick KO, too. Dustin Jacoby.
Right, make short work of Brinolopes. First-round finish, punch to the head.
Jacoby's really dangerous when opponents can't hang with his striking, isn't he? He had a bit of a rough patch, but that's 2 straight knockout wins now over younger guys trying to climb.
Yeah, like a veteran gatekeeper showing you still got it. One report kind of framed it that way, a dangerous test.
Then there was Ketlin Vieira versus Macy Chiasson. That one ended up moving to featherweight on weigh-in day, remember?
Oh, right. Reports said Chiasson, who has fought at 145 before, was having trouble making bantamweight.
Yeah. Vieira got the win, unanimous decision, mostly controlled Chiasson on the ground. One source, though, was pretty critical of this fight, called it not a good or high-level example of MMA.
Ouch.
Yeah, argued it shouldn't represent the top of the bantamweight division, especially since that division's depth is already kind of a question mark, you know? And with women's featherweight basically gone now, it does raise questions about the landscape in those weight classes.
Yeah, fair point. Down on the prelims, a couple other things stood out. Jordan Leavitt submission.
Anaconda choke. First round over Kurt Hollabaugh.
Nice bounce back for Leavitt after a loss. Showed off some slick ground game there. That's a tricky choke.
Absolutely slick. Alan Nascimento also got a unanimous decision. Had a tough start against Jeff Filio's top game, but once Nascimento got those reversals and his own control going, he took over.
Good recovery.
And Balagiocchi came in as a huge favorite. He got the win. But one analysis kind of questioned if he took his opponent too lightly early on before turning it up. Raises a little question about focus, maybe.
Something to watch. So, okay, despite the main event mess, UFC Vegas 107 still delivered some notable results. Bonuses went to Alice Ardillian versus Rando Santos for Fight of the Night.
Good scrap there.
And then performance bonuses to Brahimaj and Leavitt for those submissions.
Deservedly so. Now, moving away from the UFC results for a second, we also looked at some sources covering other events, like Cage Warriors 189.
Right, Cage Warriors. Always a good spot to see up-and-coming talent. And that card seemed to have a mix of outcomes.
Yeah, definitely. You had, like, a really explosive knockout from a young prospect, first-round finish, just blistering power, the kind of thing Cage Warriors is known for finding.
That's a Cage Warrior.
But then you also had, like, a super gritty back-and-forth fight that went the full 3 rounds. Real tough battle, showing that depth of talent that's willing to just grind it out. It's that contrast, you know. Quick finishes and tactical wars on the same card.
That toughness is definitely a mark of the European scene. Okay, shifting gears to news. There was a pretty big schedule change announced, right? Noche UFC.
Yep, that's moving. Was supposed to be in Guadalajara, Mexico. Now it's relocating to San Antonio, Texas.
And the reason cited was construction delays at the arena in Guadalajara.
That's the official word. Ongoing delays.
And the shift also means it's been downgraded. It's not UFC 320 pay-per-view anymore. It's going to be a standard fight night. That's a pretty significant change in status. Noche UFC has become a big deal, celebrating Mexican Independence Day. We've seen huge fights there, like Grasso versus Shevchenko.
Exactly. Their title fights, including the one at the Sphere and the fight night headliner before that. The promotion did say they plan to go back to Guadalajara for Noche UFC next year, though. So hopefully just a one-year move.
Okay, good to know. All right, looking ahead now. UFC 316. There's already some really interesting strategic talk popping up around the main event rematch. Bantamweight title, Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili.
Ah, yes, Merab. The man is basically synonymous with wrestling, right? We all remember him just carrying Henry Cejudo around.
Oh, yeah.
And he completely outgrappled O'Malley in their last fight at UFC 306. But now he's actually revealed his game plan for the rematch.
And this is where it gets kind of wild, isn't it?
It really is. On the UFC 316 Countdown show, he's talking about O'Malley, and he says, quote, "He wants to knock you out. I'm just going to strike and knock him out."
He said what? He's going to strike with O'Malley.
That's what he said. Stand and trade with arguably the best pure striker in the whole sport.
O'Malley's reaction, which they also showed, was pretty much what you'd expect, right?
Totally. Called Merab's plan stupid if he's serious about standing and boxing with him. I mean, it's so rare to hear a fighter basically say, "I'm going to ditch my best weapon and play my opponent's game."
It really sets up a fascinating dynamic, doesn't it? Is Merab actually serious, or is this just pure mind games trying to mess with O'Malley?
Exactly. Sometimes in this sport, It's genuinely hard to tell what's tactical genius, what's bluffing, and what's just bizarre.
And speaking of O'Malley, one article also mentioned him talking about the Conor McGregor comparisons.
Oh, right. Yeah. He apparently acknowledged he probably can't reach that same level of like global fame and entertainment impact that McGregor did.
Yeah.
Even called Conor #1 in that respect.
Kind of an interesting bit of self-awareness there, mixed in with all the usual pre-fight confidence.
Yeah, a little moment of realism.
Okay, so let's pull this all together for you. We've navigated that, well, chaotic last-minute main event cancellation at UFC Vegas 107, the fallout, Blanchfield's strong reaction, critiques of the matchmaking.
Then we highlighted the key performances that did happen. Gamrot's wrestling, those impressive submissions from Brahimaj and Leave It.
Right. We touched on the mixed bag of results from Cage Warriors 189, covered the big news about Noshi UFC moving to San Antonio and becoming a fight night.
And then dove into that really intriguing strategy talk for UFC 316 with O'Malley and Merab's surprising striking plan.
So by pulling from all those different sources you sent, we've tried to synthesize it all, give you a concise but still detailed picture of what's been going on.
Yeah, the goal is always just to help you quickly get the essential facts, understand the different angles from the fighters to the critics, and maybe spot those surprising little details, whether it's O'Malley's self-assessment or Merab's, well, head-scratching game plan reveal.
It's all about getting you informed efficiently, thoroughly, and, as you process all this and look towards the next fights, maybe here's something to chew on.
Okay.
Given these unexpected medical issues causing last-minute cancellations like we saw with Barber, and thinking about fighters like Merab being so weirdly open about their strategy, how much does knowing the plan or even a fighter's recent health history really matter in a sport this unpredictable? What does that mean for how you approach analyzing fights or even just trying to guess what might happen next? Something to think about as we see how things play out.